Alright, hopefully you watched me take the number 9 gearbox apart and all the gears and workings. And this is basically how I would put it back together. There's a couple special tools, or one special tool and a piece of pipe that I use just because I work alone. If you don't work alone, you have a helper, you may not need it, but it definitely makes my job a lot easier as a single person working on it. So the first thing I want to do, and this is from experience, so I put a little bit of gasket material around your thin washer on both sides, just because in the past I've had them leak after I put them on, and that's not fun because you basically have to rip everything apart and put it back together again. So first thing I want to do is put my fork in, and this is one of the big problems with number 9 mowers, is how much play. And me and some of the other guys have talked about it, and we just don't know how to handle it yet. We've talked about that's actually has play, but it's actually better than normal. We've talked about boring it out or reaming it out and put an oversized bolt in there, and that's probably the consensus, so that's how to handle it. If we get one really bad, especially. Typically, if I know the bolt's kind of iffy, I will actually burn that out and put a new 5/8 bolt in there, and at least that way I have a good, that it's not scored around the oil seal. And I don't have the oil seal in now. I like to put them in later. So the next thing we do, basically, we will put these two in together. We don't have to put them together, but this will go. This is what your fork goes into, and then you'll have the mating clutch right here. And in all honesty, I usually have your axle in there by now, but I'm still trying to determine what I want to do here. I'm sorry, I usually don't have those problems either. Probably because I know I have time constraints as far as the video goes. So that's going to go in there just like that. Now, here's a washer I didn't tell you about. This washer will go between this gear and your big gear that's on the axle. So be sure to recover that. So you would put that on right now. And you'll basically feed that through there. You'll catch that one. And then it'll come up. And you'll catch that one. And let's see how much cooperation we're going to get. And there we go. Okay, now for this side, I like to start this one without the lock washers on the bolt. So I will kind of put that one on. I may have to tap a little bit. Get to where I can just start the bolt, that it'll catch a couple threads. And I want to start both bolts right now. And of course I didn't bring a wrench with me, so I want to kind of make sure it's kind of even, and you can judge it by your gap there. Again, you don't want to put it on really far. You just want to be sure and catch the bolts, or catch the threads, that you're not going to tear them out, especially. I don't think I've never done it. I've never heard of anybody doing it, but I suppose the potential is there. Okay, so I got that side started. And here's where the tools come in that I've made, and makes it just a lot easier for me, again, as one individual. And if you remember, I told you about that little washer that goes between, it goes right there, and the bearing will fit here. So I will put this spring in, and now I will use this piece of pipe and my knee. And again, it's kind of precarious because I only have it on jacks. Helpful if I, there we go. Okay, getting there. And I'm kind of a little nervous because I only have it on jacks. I definitely don't want to knock it off the jacks. And I feel like I'm close to doing that. So now I have it far enough that I can slip that tool in there, and that will compress that spring, and that will allow me, so now I can put that washer on. And now I can finagle that bearing, and sometimes it helps if you eyeball a little bit, you know, to get your shaft in the center. That must be why I have a hard time, as I usually do. So now I want to put this on, and this one I can use the lock washers already on it. Now, this shaft may or may not be in that bearing. In fact, I don't think it is. So now what I'm going to do is probably, well, there's danger in that. I'll probably jiggle it around a little bit, maybe to see if it seems to fit a little better. I'm going to kind of hope that's it. I'm going to pull this out. So now that releases all that. And now I should be able to. And for some reason, the last couple of years, so many people have called me about these caps. They've broken this cap, they've broken the end off of that cap, trying to get it tight. You remember that oil leak I told you about earlier? I'm assuming they probably did that to try and get rid of an oil leak instead of, you know, putting a little sealer on there. But again, don't draw one closer than the other. Just kind of keep a steady pressure on both sides. I'm not sure. There I slipped in. You can kind of hear it and feel it. I slipped into the bearing on both sides. So this side, you know, you can tighten them both down from here. I'm not going to show that on camera, but after I get this in there, I will take one of these bolts out. Actually, I will show that. So now I know I'm seated in the bearings. The cap's going on pretty good. So now I'll take one of these out, just one. And that will allow me to put the lock washer on this side, or the other side, it doesn't matter. Start cranking that one down. Now I can undo this one. And I can put the lock washer on the other side. And again, I'm gonna stop there. But I know the shaft is seated because there's no way those bearing caps wiggling that far if the shaft wasn't seated inside the bearing. So I know there's no danger of that. And we got smooth. That's it. That's basically how you would put the guts or the counter shaft back in a number 9 mower.